This tutorial will teach you how to create schedules in Chronotek, how to export them to be emailed, and show you some of the reports that you can do. We'll first start out by clicking on the scheduling button and then selecting Schedule Manager. This will bring you to the Schedule Manager page. From here, two fields that are important. You can create a schedule by employee by picking one employee and creating a schedule for them, or you can choose a store. Um, Choosing a store is beneficial if you have multiple associates working the same store. I'm going to choose by employee. I'm going to select Andrew Morgan. This brings you to this next page, which is your schedule manager. It shows the 7-day week with starting at 12 a.m. And notice it starts with the current week. What we want to do is advance this to the next week by clicking on this arrow. And in Chronotek, the weeks start on Sundays. And Chronotek has a button at the bottom that shows that will actually start it on the business hours, or start it at 8 a.m. instead of having to scroll to from 12 a.m. all the way down every time the window repopulates. So when we scroll to the top here, it starts with 8 a.m. Next, we will add a shift. There's two ways to add a shift. They both get you to the same spot. You can click on this green Add a Shift button, or the way that I like to do is I like to double click right in the day and time that the shift is going to start. So I'm going to create a shift on Monday at 8 a.m. The reason why I like that is it populates that first, the start time for that shift. It populates it for you so you don't have to manually enter it. On this window, you just pretty much just go down the list here. It starts out with the employee name. If you have a duplicate shift where two associates are going to be working the exact same time, you can enter a secondary associate's name in that field, and it will create the schedule for them as well. This next field has all of your stores listed, and I'm going to select 117 Decatur. This is Andrew's dedicated store. The next field shows the duration. Since the start time has already been populated for us, what makes it very easy to create a shift. If I want him to start at 8 a.m. and work 4 hours, all you have to do is type 4 in the duration. And if you click anywhere in the blank space on that window, it will actually populate all of the remaining or the end time for you, so you don't have to manually go in and enter that time. If you wanted to adjust the time, you can click on this clock, and the time is listed by half hour. And you can also adjust the day by clicking on the calendar. One of the extra features that Chronotek has is an alarm system, which sends you a text message when an associate either clocks in late or clocks out late. When you click on that checkbox, it gives you some grace periods, 5, 10, 30 minutes, and then there's a custom. I'm going to select 10 minutes. And if you wanted to use the late out, it has the same options. I choose not to use the late out option. And then there's a note field there. That's strictly for your viewing. That's if you wanted to put a note in there as to why the associate's coming in or anything that you need to reference. Another feature of the scheduling is this recurrence checkbox. If this shift is going to repeat, say weekly or monthly, um, you can actually have it automatically populate the remaining shifts in the system for you. So you don't have to manually go through and enter in each one. There's many options here for um, when you want this shift to occur. There's also an option to set an end date because by default it will continue on forever until you change it. You can set a particular amount of occurrences that you want this to happen, or you can set an end date for this recurrence to end. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and then you confirm. And now we have our shift listed there. Once you do this a few times, it becomes kind of easy. It's just you create a start time and just follow the list all the way down. So I've got Andrew selected. I'm going to select his store. I'm going to select 6 hours for this shift. Click in the blank space to populate. I'm going to select a late in alert, 10 minutes. And I'm just going to click on the recurrence, and this is going to happen once a week on Wednesday. And I'm going to go ahead and save that. I'm going to go ahead and continue filling out the rest of the week to show you how quickly this can go. It's at store 117, 4 hours, 10-minute grace, and have it recur. On Saturday, I'm going to have them come in at 9 instead. Store 117, I'm going to have them just come in for a couple hours. And this time, I'm not going to select recurrence. Just as a side note, if an item is recurring in Chronotek, it'll have a blue box around it. If it's not recurring, that box does not show up. So what I want to do is I want to make this shift recurring. So I'm going to go back and edit it by double clicking on the shift. And I'm going to click on recurrence, and I'm going to put that 10-minute grace period in there and hit save. And you notice now the Saturday shift has the blue box around it, indicating that it is a recurring. Now, say if you wanted to edit a shift um, once it's recurring, this window will open up. It'll ask you, do you want to edit only this shift or all future shifts? So I'm going to select this shift and all future shifts. So it'll change everything else on the calendar for you for that particular recurrence. I'm going to change this to 4 hours. And once I change the duration, it automatically changes the end time. And I'm going to click save and OK. And now the schedule has been created for this week. And now we're ready to export this schedule. We do that by clicking on reports. And from here, we're going to click on schedules. And weekly schedule by employee. What this report will do is it'll break down the schedule so you can separate it out by employee. when it brings you to this report, by default, it shows all of the employees' schedules for this week. It's actually going to be in one report. So that's what that show all says. And at the top there, there's a button that says hide job codes. The job codes are listed on the report. If you want them to show, just leave it unchecked. And by default, it starts on today's date. And since we created a schedule for next week, we need to change that so it starts on Sunday the 20th. You can do that by clicking on the calendar right next to it. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to select Andrew, just so it shows only Andrew's schedule. And the schedule consists of 2 pages. The first page having the full schedule, the second page listing a daily total of hours for that particular employee. And since this is still the wrong dates, I'm going to go ahead and change this to the 20th. Since our pay week starts on our paydays or pay week starts on Sunday, go ahead and start that on Sunday, and then you click on the refresh button. It will rerun the report starting on Sunday. We have our 2-page report. And now it's ready to be exported. We're going to do that by exporting it using this button at the top. It'll export it as a PDF. So when you click on that, it brings you to a download window. You can rename this file and save it. And now that file is ready to be sent. You can just add it as an attachment to an outgoing Outlook message. Now we can actually do some reports in Chronotek. I haven't gone through all of the reports, but I recommend you try them out to see which ones work for you. There's some that might be beneficial for you if you have a lot of employees. It breaks down the information so that you can read it a little bit easier. One of the reports that I find that's beneficial is the over 40 hours report. What this does is it lists everyone in your territory, what their total hours are for the week. That way it makes it a little bit easier for you to keep track of what hours you have. And this concludes Chronotek Training.